So thank you all so much for being here tonight. My name is Jenny Trays. I am the head of community engagement here at USRowing. I did not row when I was young, but I walked onto the team in college at Bucknell University, rowed for 4 years, and like so many of us, fell in love with the sport and reaped so many of the benefits of it. And from there, I worked for 10 years at Row New York, in New York City, providing access to athletes of all ages, athletes with disabilities, and youth from underrepresented communities. So, and then after that, I left rowing for a couple years, but stayed in the realm of providing access to youth in sports at a sports technology company. And then found my way here at USRowing, where I was super eager to join the team and provide opportunities for more people at such a broad scale. So we created the community engagement team about a little over 2 years ago. And I'm really excited to share kind of what we've done, what the vision is, and especially excited to jump into these grants that we have been so eager to get started. So I will toss it over to Will Bott for his introduction.
Thank you, Jenny. And I first and foremost want to thank you all for joining the call tonight. This is one of, if not the largest call that I have been a part of within USRowing. And I think it just goes to show that the community of USRowing as a whole is thinking about how we can make our sport more accessible, more diverse, more inclusive. And so anyway, I just want to thank you all first and foremost for being here tonight. We're really looking forward to diving into the grants and the program that we've put together, the application process, the rubric, and all of that we'll get into. A little background of myself. I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I coached at the Milwaukee Rowing Club for 10 years. I helped start STEM to Stern and became the director of that program for 4 years. STEM to Stern, we started in Milwaukee really as a program to help create more access at the Milwaukee Rowing Club. We started with some kids from a school that I was working at. We provided van rides, swimming lessons, an academic component, and we addressed some of the major barriers that were keeping kids in our community out of the sport. Fast forward a few months and a couple of years, and that program grew from Milwaukee to numerous places around the country. Many of you are on this call tonight, and we've worked together on that. And that's been a really cool thing to see happen. My role now is the director of United We Row Impact Program, where I oversee the grants and the scholarships, as well as the curriculum that we're putting together that's really designed to provide opportunities for clubs to take the information and things that we've learned in our experiences and bring it to their own clubs as well. So that's a little background about me. My wife and I, we now live in San Diego with our 2 kids. We have, my wife actually just gave birth 2 months ago to a baby girl, and we have a 18-month-old foster son named Liam. So that's a little bit about myself.
Nice. I didn't know we were talking about our kids. I just cleared the bedtime time, so I'm happy to be here and really eager for this town hall. We wanted to kick it off with some energy and get people pumped about what we're doing here at USRowing, so we'll just play this video really fast.
Jenny, I'm not hearing it actually.
Oh no. Okay.
There's a stillness in the night that is, still surrounding me, that I know in an hour will be punctured by 30 aggressive, enthusiastic, and just eager athletes. When you start in the dark and end in the light, I think it's a beautiful metaphor for what we're trying to do within this sport as people growing, using rowing as the vehicle for growth.
Up and over at the two already, 1, 2. I've been rowing for about 3 years now. We trailer every day back and forth from the school to the river. Being a practice, it clears your mind off of everything that's stressful. You get a sense of peacefulness. Ever since I've joined rowing, I felt more confident in myself and stronger.
My basketball career fell to the sidelines in college because of injury. When rowing found me, it opened up a whole new world for me. Being able to compete with myself in a way that makes my body feel good again has had a tremendous effect on my health and overall well-being.
I row because it's beautiful. The balance between the physical and the emotional is sublime. It takes strength of muscle, it takes strength of spirit, strength of intellect. It challenges your entire being.
I use what I have, my arms, my back, and my chest, and am able to redefine what I'm capable of, stroke after stroke. I row because I'm grateful for my ability. On the water, I don't feel confined by my disability. I'm free.
I took my first strokes approximately 61 years ago. I find, a close race side by side is just exhilarating.
During the race, there's so much going on, keeping part of your attention to the things that coach taught you that you need to focus on, pushing the limits of your body to a place that it's maybe never even gone before, and trusting that you have more and you can push for more. And it's all worth it because you're so committed to this goal, to the win, the gold medal and podium moment, that any amount of suffering and fatigue seems completely irrelevant.
You don't stop rowing because you get old. You get old because you stop rowing.
Chills every time. That is on YouTube if anyone's interested in using it for your own purposes. So thank you again, as Will said, for being here tonight. I've been anticipating the launch of this program for over two years now. It became official when we kind of put it into our strategic plan, which I will talk about. But we couldn't be more eager to tell you about United We Row and tell you about the grants program and see your applications and see what's going on out there. So thank you so much again. So we'll kick off tonight with an overview of the United We Row program. That's how we are defining and branding all of our inclusion efforts across the organization. We'll introduce the grant program. As Will said, we will talk you through what to expect in terms of the application and the process, the timeline, and the expectations on the side of the grantee if you are to become a grantee. And then we do want to leave ample time for questions that anyone has. So first and foremost, if you aren't aware, US Rowing completed in 2022 a strategic planning process where we ultimately came out with 3 deliverables: an organizational strategic plan that encompasses all 3 strategic plans, a DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion specific strategic plan, and a high performance strategic plan. Those are available on the website. We can absolutely send the links out if people haven't seen them before. But what really came out of that is that we have these 3 kind of strategic initiatives that guide our organization. And those are performance, inclusion, and experience. They, what I've learned in the last year since we have released our strategic plan, it's not a plan that's kind of sitting on a shelf that we're not paying attention to. These kind of 3 pillars are how we are tracking our objectives, our key results, how we are organizing our resources and budgeting. It's really helping guide the organization, our priorities, and what we do day to day. So obviously a key piece for the community engagement team, which Will and I are part of, is inclusion. And that means we are dedicated to fostering the growth of our sport and creating an environment where all are welcome. So when we define inclusion at US Rowing, that means everyone who comes across rowing or is part of rowing has a sense of belonging and feels valued as an individual. So United We Row is really how we are branding all of these efforts across the organization, because it's not just happening on our team. So we really enjoy the tagline, a seat in the boat for everyone. So we encourage you to use any of the kind of concepts that we come across tonight. But the reason that we wanted to brand these efforts is to really bring awareness to them and market them so that organizational leaders, athletes, coaches could take advantage of what US Rowing is offering. And we'll get into some of that, but from scholarships to grants to learning opportunities and training opportunities to different events that we host throughout the year. So United We Row, as I mentioned, is key to our planning. It's key to the organization. It's baked into every single team across the organization. It's not a campaign. It's not going to be short-lived. And it's a commitment to really take the joy of rowing and the many benefits, whether physical, community-oriented, social, emotional, mental, to everyone who wants to be a part of it and retain those athletes. So it's the combination of programs, initiatives, campaigns that we are doing, plus what we will do, which is guided by our strategic plan. So this includes educational and training opportunities, community and mentorship. For example, we have a coach mentorship program that is has been launched through our online learning platform. And we also have a specific one for coaches of color, scholarships and grants, technical support. So, answering the phone and helping talk you through different challenges that come up in your own boathouses or in your own communities, and creating an inclusive rowing community that extends from events that we hold at regattas to how we appear on our website, social media. And we work really closely with the community, the communications and marketing team to tell stories that haven't traditionally been told in rowing and highlight things that we think are important that our community knows. So I mentioned the diversity, equity, and inclusion strategic plan. That's also available online, and I'm happy to send that link out to anyone who needs it. These are the 4 goals in that specific plan. Cultivate a welcoming environment, support clubs and athletes, invest in leadership and coaching, and enhance the high performance pipeline. All with the ultimate goal of making rowing a place that is a more welcoming environment, a more inclusive, open culture that retains athletes who are already a part of it. We're not looking to kick anyone out who's been in the sport too long or, move people aside. We want to retain who we have now and provide seats in boats for new people or seats on ergs. We're really broadening the definition of who a rower is. And just in terms of kind of what we are proudest of in 2023, I'm not going to go through this in major detail just because we're conscious of time tonight. But on the right-hand side is a quote from a scholarship recipient in 2023 who is still rowing now and had an incredible experience last summer. And then on the left-hand side, you can see the investments we have made in 2023. And these have only continued to grow in 2024. So 130,000 awarded to scholarship athletes, $15,000 investing in coaches specifically for professional development to attend conferences and travel to conferences, to support coaches in getting level 2 and 3 certifications, inclusion training, including trauma-informed coaching and anti-racism, hosting events called, for example, Toast in the Tower at Youth Nationals. We also held an event, a United We Row event at Head of the Charles. And then many of you are probably familiar with the Freedom Rows program as well. In terms of what's coming down the pike for 2024, we are projecting over $1 million invested in this work of United We Row, of inclusion efforts on the community engagement team. And so, again, not going to go into incredible detail here, but expanding our scholarships to athletes and coaches to the greatest level US Rowing has ever done. So we're thrilled about that. And we're deep in the weeds of that process right now as summer camp approaches. Obviously, launching the grant program. We offer, we formalized our program to offer organizational and individual discounts or waivers on memberships. And then we will continue to hold events. We'll do another membership experience or DEI assessment this year. And we're looking forward to having you all together again at the first ever United We Row Summit, where it's a day or two, we haven't decided, of professional development specifically around making boathouses more welcoming and inclusive. And just a reminder that if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A function that you see, and we will definitely get to those. It's really important for us that we're not just kind of doing these things and not really understanding the impact that they're making. So we will be tracking our progress through key performance indicators. And as many of you know who do this work, sometimes these efforts can take a long time to see change, but behind the scenes of each of these 4 bullets is additional data. So we will track participation in underrepresented individuals at US rowing competitions. So that includes veterans, athletes with disabilities, athletes who are people of color, tracking demographics of US rowing membership and the national team and coaching staff, completion of diversity, equity, and inclusion related content and resources on the Launch, which is our online learning platform, and tracking membership experience in rowing. We know that people, depending on their social identity, where they row, what's happening in their boathouse, they're experiencing rowing differently. And we hope that we can make progress on having everyone kind of raise the bar in terms of having a positive experience in our sport. And without further ado, I, again, just want to say, really excited about this program. I may jump in here or there. I think it's something Will and I both really care about, especially having kind of been the boots on the ground for a long time, for 10 years myself at Row New York, and just wanting to focus on the programs and deliver the rowing and just needing that funding. We're really excited to support the incredible efforts that are taking place, and really excited to see the ideas and what you all are doing, and just empower you to keep doing it. So Will, I'll toss it over to you.
Cool. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, and I too am very excited to see these applications come in. We have 139 people on this call, and my hope is that you are all thinking either how you can improve a program that you are working on that's making rowing more inclusive and accessible, or maybe you're thinking about how you can build something that's going to do that. So, Jenny, you can move to the next slide. Thanks. I want to go over our goal with this program. So from our perspective, it is so important. This work is so important because our overarching goal is to make rowing more accessible, inclusive, and competitive by empowering leaders, you all, and organizations across the country. So that's kind of our overarching goal. We seek to do that this year by funding programs with grants between $5,000 and $10,000. So if you're taking notes tonight, grants are between $5,000 and $10,000 for making programs more inclusive to underrepresented people in the sport. So that's kind of our second goal. Our third goal with this program is to bring a community together of these leaders, learn from you all, share best practices amongst each other, and facilitate a really strong community of people who are passionate about changing the sport and making it more accessible, inclusive for others. And then the final thing is we want to use our platform as the national governing body to amplify the work that you all are doing at your programs. We want to see new things, learn new things, and then put that out there for the rest of the US rowing community to see. So these are kind of the 4 guiding principles that we're following from our end. And I just hope that gives a bit of context in what it is that we're looking for and what our goals are. If we can move to the next slide. So kind of going back to what I started with, we're going to be offering 2 types of grants. The first type of grant is called the Community Impact Grant. And that is for programs that have already gotten something up and running. They have a proven track record in diversity, equity, and inclusion. They have existing programs or efforts that they are doing, and they seek funding to enhance the work, to increase the impact that they can have, and to make their programs better. So that's the first type of grant. The second type of grant is called the Endeavor Grant. And this is for programs, for rowing clubs and individuals who have a solid idea, who demonstrate a strong commitment to change and a detailed plan to launch an initiative that's going to make their rowing teams more accessible, inclusive, and diverse. So we put these 2 together because we really want to see the established programs that can take this funding and make their programs even better to amplify the impact that they already have. But then we also want to see new things get up and running and support in that way. Our goal is to help bring your visions to life, and part of our application process is to really get a sense of what your vision is within your community. So let's talk about crafting your application. So here's really what we're looking for. Our main objective is for us to hear from you. What goals do you have for your program that are in line with our vision at US Rowing? And we've been talking all about our vision for US Rowing, and within United We Row. We want to see this sport become more accessible, diverse, competitive. We want to see more people in this sport. And so we want to see what you have to say and what your goals are within your rowing club. You should also be able to answer the question of what activities do you do to make your program inclusive, and help you achieve these stated goals. So we want to hear a really good detailed description of what are you doing, or what do you plan to do within your program to achieve your goals. Impact is critical, and impact and metrics are inherently related. It's important for you on your application to demonstrate the impact that you seek to make, but then to also back that up by saying, here's how we're measuring it. Here's, whether that's retention, whether that's social emotional learning, however you think about the impact and how you can measure that, that's what we want to do, or that's what we want to see. And then finally, we want a detailed description of how you plan to use the funds that will be distributed. How critical are they to you, and the impact that you seek? So these are kind of the 4 things, the most important 4 elements of your grant application. So again, if you're taking notes, you can write these 4 things down real quick, because that will be front and center on the application. So what does a successful application look like? Well, that previous slide was all about impact, the impact that you are going to have with your effort. And so this application is going to dive into that. Next, eligibility. In order to be accepted, in order to be a grantee, you need to be, your rowing club needs to be a US Rowing member and to have a safe sport policy. So eligibility is kind of a pass fail. We will not be providing grants to non-US rowing member organizations or organizations that don't have a safe sport policy. Those are the eligibility criteria. We're then going to dive in a bit into the application about the club and your program's need for funds. We want to learn a little bit about why this grant would be really beneficial to you from a financial standpoint. We then want to find the alignment with the US Rowing and United We Row goals. Jenny touched on this earlier in her presentation, but the United We Row goals, or the US Rowing goals are performance, inclusion, and experience. We want to see how your program is going to help enhance performance, help enhance inclusion, and help enhance the experience for your participants. Next, we want to think about the representation. And representation is really about how you represent yourselves in leadership and the coaching staff and in the board members at your programs. And then also the representation in the people that you'll be serving, whether it's kids or adults, adaptive rowers. There's so many different groups of people who are underrepresented in rowing. And so representation dives into who are you going to be serving with this program. Next is sustainability and growth. Sustainability and growth is really important to us because we want to make sure that we're supporting rowing programs that have a foundation for success beyond what we'll be able to provide. Our grants are going to be between $5,000 and $10,000. For an effort that may go in a season, that may last a year, but we want to see some information from you all that demonstrates that, yes, this is critical to us, this is important for us, but here's our plan to be sustainable and to grow from here. And then finally, we want to learn about the leadership and professionalism at your rowing club. We want to support clubs that have strong leadership, are professional, and have a really a good board and coaching staff. So again, these will all be taken into account when we are looking at the applications.
Thanks, Will. And I'll just mention, we encourage you to apply, even if you're not like, check, got all these things. Eligibility is not negotiable, but, just like a job application, when you're applying to a job, you're not necessarily hitting every single mark on that requirement list, but we want to know that you're committed to making progress in those areas. And we hope, because they're important to us, to provide some experiences, some partnership opportunities, some training and development, some templates to help you grow in these areas. So for example, when it comes to metrics and measuring your impact, we are planning to make Hello Insight one of our partners. We are planning to put together a course in the launch that helps you think about how to measure impact. That's not a burden to your coaches or is taking over your program, but those are just some examples. And if there are gaps in kind of your knowledge and you think that US Rowing can fill that gap, we are always open to your feedback on what we provide. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Jenny. Yes. So kind of adding on to that, we want to see new and creative ideas. And we know that they're out there. I've been able to work with some of the most creative people I've met in rowing programs that are designed to increase DEI in this sport. But just to kind of, if you are in that brainstorming process, things that we envision funding, indoor programs, on-water programs, adaptive or para programs, scholarship programs for athletes, swimming lessons, transportation, stipends, innovative partnerships and collaborations, and many more. That's the thing. This should be kind of a thing, okay, our plan for this summer is X, Y, and Z. We want to hear about that and learn what it is that you're doing, but it is broad.
And well, we got a couple of questions that kind of fit into this slide. So I answered them live, but I want to just verbally say them too. One is, do we consider ability to pay as part of diversity, equity, and inclusion? And I said yes. I think that we are looking for organizations to look around their boathouse and consider who is missing. Is it people from different socioeconomic levels? Is it people of different races or ethnicities that are within your community but just not showing up at your boathouse? Is it people with disabilities? Is it masters rowers? We are intentionally not defining a specific piece of DEI within these grants because we want to best serve you and your community. And then someone asked, can public high school teams apply? And I guess one bit of the eligibility piece we didn't mention is 501c3. You have to be a 501c3 and accept donations. But outside of that, if a high school is, yes, we encourage all rowing programs to apply. Let me just see if, and are there any other questions in this area? No, so we'll get to the other questions later.
Cool. All right. So a bit of a bit more in the application process. So first of all, some important dates. So the application will open up on April 4th, and it'll be open for over a month and close on May 10th. And then we will announce the grantees at the beginning of June. So here's kind of how the process is going to work. JotForm is a really cool website that we have used for this application process. And so that's the website that you all will be able to use to fill out the application. JotForm, this will be available on our website. It'll be out on social media, in newsletters, in emails. If you're attending tonight, you will be sent information with the JotForm link on how to apply. You can get a start on this like tonight. And I'm going to go through some of the necessary forms and the data that we will be asking for on this application. So the first is pulling in your Form 990. So again, if that's something that you may not have readily available, you have before April 4th even to pull that in and find that within your rowing club. So your Form 990, then your organizational and program budgets, your safe sport policy, your demographic data, so either existing demographic data or expected demographic data with your program, your EIN number, and then the staff training and professional development that your coaching staff and your board has done. So we will be asking for those few things. And I just wanted to get that out there front and center that that may be kind of, you know, if you get to the application and you see, okay, I got to get this and that and this and that, it might take a little bit longer. So if you go ahead and on the front end, start to pull this stuff in, we will be asking for that and you can get a head start. The questions are going to be typically short answer. The questions very much align with what we are looking for. And so, but the limits are typically 200 words. I think the max is 300 words for one of our questions. So typically 200 words or fewer. We really want concise and specific applications. We want to know what it is you're doing specifically, just clear. Like the more clear you are, the easier it is going to be for the grant committee to look at. Which actually is a good segue into who's going to be reading these grants, who's going to be looking over the applications. Well, we have 8 people who are passionate about DEI and rowing and who are deeply knowledgeable in this work. And so we've brought 8 people together who are excited to hear from you, excited to learn more about the work that you all are doing. And then also ultimately decide who we are going to be providing grants to. So first we have Jenny. So she'll be part of the grant selection committee. Next, we have Napoleon Griffin. So Napoleon is a member of the DEI committee, and he's also an educator and master's athlete. Then we have Deb Ehrenberg. She is the Adaptive Programs Associate and Freedom Rose Program Coordinator. We have Jess Jackson, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Associate at USRowing. We have Steve Serrallo. He is on the board of directors at USRowing, and he's an educator and coach. We have Molly Moore. Molly is a Paralympian, and she's a member of the DEI committee and a PhD student. We then have George Wilson, who is he's on the foundation board, and he's the director of partnerships at the NBA. Pretty sweet. And lastly, we have myself. So the 8 of us will be working together and going through each grant application and using that to come up with who we're going to be supporting this year. Next is timelines and expectations. So I'll just kind of run through these again. If you're taking notes, these are the important dates. Like we said, applications open on April 4th. They close on May 10th. We will then be reviewing those grants throughout May with an announcement of the grantees in early June. Then in November, we're going to ask grant recipients for a mid-cycle report. And we're still working on what that report is going to be. But this will be measurements on the basically like the metrics of where you're at with the program and where you're at on things. So we'll ask for that in November. The end of the cycle report is the second report, and that's due at the end of the year of our grant cycle year in May of 2025, which ends the grant cycle on May 31st, 2025. So this is a year in the life of a United We Row grantee, and that's kind of how that'll look. The requirements. So again, for grantees, there will be some requirements that we'll have. So the first, again, we talked about this, but we will ask for 2 reports on progress and metrics designed to kind of get a sense of how successful the program has been at your rowing club. We will ask that you engage with our comms team, submit photos, stories, testimonials, best practices. We'll ask that you attend quarterly meetings and up to 2 additional meetings with the USRowing Board of Directors or the foundation. Again, with our quarterly meetings, we want to continue to create this community of people who are doing this work all over the country. And then lastly, to sign the grant agreement that we have. So those are really the grantee requirements and the important dates.
Cool.
Jenny, am I missing anything?
No, I think you nailed it. We have a lot of questions, so I'm eager to get right to them. And I'm just really excited about the level of engagement we have. We don't want to, what's the phrase, like pull the wool over your eyes, or we really want to be transparent here about what we're looking for. So I'm just gonna kind of start from the top, or actually look at some that I already answered to see if I should repeat any of those. This recording will be made available to view later, and we can also share out the deck. So regarding sustainability and growth, do we write about the plan as if we are receiving the funding, or how we will sustain it without it in future years? I think the goal would be kind of assume that you get the funding, but we want to see if you were not to get the funding in additional years, how would you sustain the program going forward? I hope that answers your question. How many grants will be awarded at each level? So we said we'd offer between $5,000 and $10,000 grants per organization. And kind of our minimum, we don't know what to expect. I think year 1 is really going to be such a learning curve for all of us. And we are going to take your feedback and kind of build on it as we learn through this kind of grant making process. But our minimum is to give $25,000 of awards. So that's a if it was 5 organizations at 5K, that would be our kind of the floor and not the ceiling. Are there any requirements for organizational partners / collaborators as long as the rowing organization is a US rowing member and has a safe sport policy? That's a great question. I would say, we would definitely be like checking out the website of the partnership. If it's kind of a YMCA or a Boys and Girls Club, for example, type organization, I would expect them to have kind of a website. Maybe we would poke around on their social media or check out their 990. But I think, we're not really asking for any of that. We are kind of trusting you all to develop those relationships and those partnerships that are going to help you best serve your organization and your community. What is the grant timeline, rolling decisions? So hopefully, Mark, that, we cleared that up with the overview of the timeline. It's not rolling, so it's closing May 10th. We are deciding those last few weeks of May, and we'll make decisions by early June. Can platforms that aren't nonprofits but are for public service apply? As long as it's an organization or an entity that can accept donations, I would say you should apply. I'm not a tax lawyer or lawyer in general, so I would say I think 501c3 is safest, but I think if you can legally accept donations, we would encourage you to apply.
Jenny, as long as they are an organizational member.
Yes, for sure. Pat Tyrone, great to hear from you. Form 990 from 2022. Yes, your latest one that's available. That works. Do all the details of a new program already need to be fleshed out before May 10th deadline, or rather, how much detail is required to receive the grant, and how long will we have to flesh that out? I would say get as much as possible into that application by May 10th. So I think, I would say, first of all, there's no like set, we want to do this many grants of community impact and this many grants in Endeavor. But if you are kind of putting yourself in that category, and you don't formally have to put yourself in that category during the application process, but if you're a new program and new to this work, or it's a new program, I would just try to flesh out those original 5 questions that Will went over. Like, what are your program goals? What are your activities? What's your impact and metrics? I'm forgetting the last one. I'm forgetting the last one, but it's in the deck. And I would just try to answer those as much as possible. And we, especially because Will and I have been on the receiving ends of grants and know that things come up, we are going to understand if changes need to be made. We just want to understand the why and how does that, affect the impact that you can have. So we expect, you'll communicate with us if things are to change or you're fleshing things out beyond that May 10th deadline and you become a grantee. In terms of the categories that we provide for demographics, I believe we do that in the application. Will, do you want to weigh in on that?
Sorry, what was the question? I was reading a few ahead.
Basically, Susan is asking if we will provide the categories for demographics.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. The application has exactly the categories of demographics that we are interested in learning about. So yeah, we'll provide the categories. You'll have to plug the demographic information in.
This is a good question. Will I be able to fill out some of the questions on JotForm, save it, and return to it later? As someone who's written some grants before, this is such a good question, and the honest answer is that I do not know. So
Jenny, I think that's something that we need to figure out and can include in a follow-up. I think that's a super important question, and especially with kind of what we're asking, I could see that happening. So I can take that one and look into that and make sure that the answer to that would be a yes.
Cool. What is the difference between this program and that of Arche's foundation? So Arche Cooper runs the Most Beautiful Thing Foundation. And I think we're doing very similar work. I think Arche wants to see a more inclusive rowing community, and so do we. So I would say the more money and resources we can put into kind of clubs and organizations at the grassroots level, the better. So we're very similar in our kind of mission and our goals. I'm trying to think of other differences. Yeah. So Gain, I'll just read the question so people know. I was just reviewing our club's safe sport policy to update it. I looked at the USRowing safe sport policy posted on USRowing's website and found a clause that gives member organizations the opportunity to adapt the USRowing safe sport policy. Would that fit the requirement for our organization's safe sport policy? The answer is yes. Yeah. So we say, take our policy. What we would like to see is also like take our policy and like review it, implement it, make it a practice and not just a policy. But yes, you can absolutely kind of adopt and adapt USRowing safe source policy to fit your organization's needs. Okay. Will these grants be eligible for multi-year funding, or do the funds need to be fully utilized by May 2025? I would say, and we haven't fully discussed this, but I think it would be a year-long kind of thing. We expect that 5 to 10K to support a program that is a year long. Okay, we answered that one. The quarterly meetings, will they be in person or virtual? I would say I would bet on virtual, but if there's an opportunity where every grantee says we'll be at Head of the Charles or we'll be at Youth Nationals, the chances of that are probably slim, but if that happens, we would love to do in person. Right, another question about those. I think they will be on Zoom, yes. The recordings will be sent via email, Brooke Yimmer, great to see you here. We can send out a PDF of the presentation, yes. Demographics over what period of time? So for organizations that have, and this should be clear on the application, but organizations that have been doing this work and they would fit more into that community impact grant and they consider their programs diverse and inclusive already, that can be, over the last year or period of time. But if you are looking to change your organization's demographics, you kind of can project who you are looking to serve within your new program. So basically, like if it's a question about the past, I would say the last kind of program year, however you define that. And then going forward is kind of your projection. After the grant year, are we required to attend meetings on an annual basis or just for the year? Just as long as you're a grantee. And we haven't talked about kind of a grantee alumni program, but if people find these gatherings valuable, we can absolutely consider that. We'll just probably follow your lead there. But in terms of being a grantee for 1 year, the requirements are attend those 4 meetings, or 4 to 6 meetings, I should say. John, great to see you. John Campagna. Hi, could you provide insight into the rubric used for evaluation, especially on pieces such as representation, leadership, and professionalism? Will, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the representation side, we're going to be asking specifically, primarily demographic information about the leadership, including coaches and board members, as well as the participants in this effort. So that's on the representation side. On the leadership and professionalism side, we're going to be digging into the leadership board members and coaching staff, and how and some of the trainings that they've done. Have they been doing DEI training? Have they done professional development outside of outside of just their rowing scope? So kind of digging into some of the more specifics about who is the leadership of these organizations that we're going to be sending grants to.
And I would say, well, in terms of representation, if it's not existing already and you are not currently representing the demographics of the population you seek to serve in your program, understanding either ideally a plan to have more representation, but also a plan for us to understand how you ensure that they have a voice, that they have representation, that there is a feedback mechanism to really ensure that their thoughts are included in kind of leadership and decision making.
Yeah, thanks, Jenny, for adding that.
Of course. We have 37 questions more, so I'm going to try to get through everybody's. Does the amount available differ between grant types, or do both the Endeavor and Community Impact Grants support 5 to 10K award amounts? Both types. Once a program is awarded a grant, do they become ineligible to apply for a following cycle? No, we haven't set any rules around that. So until you hear otherwise, you can plan on applying year after year. I don't understand this question. Chicagoan William Buckingham Curtis founded US Rowing August 1872. Will his definition of amateur apply? That's a great question. I can't answer it. Will, do you have an answer for that one?
No, unfortunately not. Sorry, Lil.
Is the timeline okay for winter indoor programs trying to coordinate a regional regatta competition series, avoid scheduling conflicts, get more attendance at all events? I would say, as long as you're looking to spend the funds within that year, anything is fair game. For those orgs that are not awarded, will there be an opportunity for feedback as why we're not awarded? Yeah, like that is definitely a goal of ours, to help organizations and leaders understand where they could grow more and how they could better prepare for the following year, and even some resources that we could provide to help support that. Considering that there may be multiple different programs and ideas in different clubs and community, how the evaluating metrics are going to be established. So you all are the experts within your communities. So we're really looking for you to define your goals, your activities, and how best to measure. And we will be asking you about progress in those mid-year and end-of-year reports. So it's up to you to decide kind of how you're evaluating your impact. What do people do to solve transportation problems? Getting to the boathouse is a significant challenge for underserved communities. Absolutely. That is a good thing to apply for grant money for, but vans, public transportation, carpooling. Sorry if I'm going really quickly over these. I just want to make sure we're getting to when should we expect to get the link? What do I do if I don't get it? So if you are on this call, you will definitely get the link to the application, but it's also going to be blasted on our social media, on our newsletters. However you found out about this, you will find out about the application. And we'll do a press release as well. Kate Davis asked, if a club isn't ready to apply now, do you anticipate the same grants to be available next year? We do anticipate that. As a nonprofit relying on funding and donations, we never truly know, but I would say that it's a commitment of the organization and we don't expect otherwise. That's amazing. Okay. Would equipment purchase to support an inclusive program be considered funding? I would, yeah. Especially if you require specific equipment for, an adaptive program for people with disabilities, or you want to launch an indoor program in schools to provide a pipeline to your on-water program. Yes, I would apply. Pat, we can definitely share the link to the wonderful video. Do you mind dropping that in the chat, Will?
Yeah, let me.
Find that, please. Oh, Jason, let's definitely talk. So, Alabama just passed legislation which bans public funding of DEI initiatives. Who can I talk to at US Rowing about legal ramifications of applying for the grant in my state? Jason, would love for you to reach out to me and we can bring others into that conversation. That's a good one. Can grants be used for equipment or materials needed to support programs? Yes, so we answered that one. And then a thank you. Thank you, Renee, for being here. Is the offering of grants a new program? Yes. For US Rowing, this is all brand new. As I mentioned, this will be a huge learning curve for all of us, I think, all grantees, everyone who's applying, and US Rowing. So any feedback will help us make the program better. And then hi Myrna. You ask, how does this differ from the Pocock Foundation grant? This is going to be on a national scale. So, we are looking to serve organizations across the country who are doing this work. So very similar, again, in our kind of mission. And we love that we're all able to kind of put more resources into local clubs and local rowing. I think I made it. Oh, no, I didn't. One more. Are there any restrictions on grant funding allocated for scholarship/coaching stipends, or are operational/equipment costs preferred? There are no, we're going to learn a lot, but there are no restrictions right now on the scholarships or coach stipends. I think if you can basically define a need or a challenge in your community and how it is holding you back from building an inclusive boathouse, and then you have a solution where you need resources, we are open to funding it. So I really hope that that clears that up. Yeah, Robin Murphy asks, in looking at adaptive programs and getting qualified coaches for those programs, she asks, are there educational opportunities to teach coaches how to work with these groups? We actually have a free adaptive coaching certification program. So if you reach out to me, Robin, I can send that to you. Please email if people have more questions, community@usrowing.org. Just community@usrowing.org and we can answer your questions. I know we are like just up on time and somehow we made it through all those questions. Thank you so much for being here. We will send this out and we hope that the process is clear and not too cumbersome, but we are open to your feedback. So Will, do you have anything else to add?
No, again, thank you so much, everybody. The questions were great. Jenny, it was, I mean, 1 hour, we went through everything. We threw a ton of information at you all. I hope this was helpful. We are so excited to see these applications as they start to come in. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. And yeah, let's keep up the good work. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.